Welcome to the Hashimoto's Doctor Podcast. You're now part of a growing community of people determined to take their health back through education and self-empowerment. But because of the healthcare system today, we don't have access to the types of healthcare that we want. So we have to do things differently. We've got to do things smarter, and we do that by becoming our own advocates. This podcast will give you the perspective and thoughts of one of the world's leading Hashimoto's doctors. So let's get started. Hey guys, Dr. Shook here. I hope you're doing well today. In today's podcast, what I want to talk to you guys about is something that you may not have considered as something beneficial to help you with Hashimoto's, inflammation, autoimmunity, and mood, general health. This is an amazing thing that is oftentimes not appreciated. And I want to make sure to bring it to your attention and talk to you about some of the amazing benefits. And this is really, it has to do with being in nature and getting out of an urban environment and getting into nature. And that sounds, you may think that sounds like that's, something pseudoscientific. However, there are actual studies that show us numerous benefits. So let me talk to you guys a little bit about this. Have you just ever experienced it? Have you ever been outside or gone for a walk, gone to a greenway, gone for a hike in the mountains, just walked through the woods and felt just different, like relaxed and much more calm? If you have, then you're experiencing some of the benefits I'm getting ready to talk about. It's a very real thing. And the crazy thing is that so many people live in urban areas that by 2050, the projected number or percentage of people that are expected to be living in urban environments is 70%. 70%, 7 out of every 10 people living in an urban environment. And that's going to minimize, and you're not going to be able to get a lot of these benefits if you're in that type of environment scenario. So what happens is that being in an urban environment completely disconnects us from just from nature in general. And a lot of these health benefits I'm going to talk about are lost as well. And it's kind of interesting that you'll see from studies done that people that live in cities are 40% higher risk for mood disorders than people that live in more rural type of environments. So pretty amazing. But so here's some of the benefits. Number one, just being outside and being in nature more means you're going to be, you're going to be out of your house, and you're going to be, you're not going to be in a building. You're not going to necessarily be in as much shade. You're going to get more natural sunlight, which is going to help increase vitamin D levels. And we know that vitamin D is critical. It's critical for anyone that's autoimmune. It's critical for a number of physiological functions, but it can actually be very beneficial for regulating inflammation, which is huge. It's a huge thing. Second benefit is that it's been shown that if you get out and you're exposed to sun earlier in the day, like the first part of your day, and you have natural sunlight exposure, that it can actually help your sleep, because sleep patterns are tied to the sun schedule. So this rhythm of the sun up and sundown, that's actually how our bodies were designed to work. We make melatonin in rhythm with that. Our body is really designed to and responds to this natural light. That's why you hear talk about limiting. If you're having problems sleeping, you need to limit screen exposure to your phones, to tablets, to TVs, because there's this blue light that comes off of these devices, and that blue light signals the brain that the sun's still up, even though it's not. And that can impair and affect your hormonal releases, which can affect your sleep. So it's really, really interesting to me that how powerful light exposure is. The third thing is that there's really studies have shown increased emotional stability and empathy. And empathy is feeling for someone. It is feeling with them. It is very, very important. And a lot of people that are not empathetic to others, it creates a lot of stress and dysfunction. I think it creates a lot of dysfunction, societal dysfunction. But it's incredibly important. And what one study that was done showed was that people that spend time in nature, they actually have increased activity in different areas of the brain that are responsible for emotional stability, empathy, and even love. So that sounds pretty powerful, right? That's something that's critical. I think that we've got to consider this, guys. You guys hear me talk about this a lot, and one of my, it's something that I know to be true. We just don't know all the the ramifications of it. I know for a fact that we are very disconnected from how our ancestors lived thousands of years ago on this earth. We are completely disconnected from that experience, which I often refer to as the true human experience. And I think about it in a way that is it's really important that we consider that. We consider how disconnected we are with our technology, our rubber shoes, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, about contact with the earth, which is not it is a very legitimate thing that's important for our health. This is one of the what we're getting at here, and a lot of the problems are modern. A lot of our diseases are modern diseases, and I believe they're diseases of our environmental change and our lifestyle. So increased emotional stability and empathy is huge. So this next thing I'm going to talk about, number 4, is grounding. Now, grounding is this concept that, and let me just say this: there was a study published in the Journal of Alternative and I think it was Complementary Medicine, and what they said was that grounding, which is bare-skinned contact with the earth, guys, you just go out, put your feet directly in your grass. That's bare-skin contact. Okay, no shoes, nothing. That it can have a very intense anti-inflammatory effect, and it actually has an energizing effect on the body because there is a transfer of electrons. It's an antioxidant effect. It's a legitimate effect. People have talked about it, and it's a similar kind of effect that happens when you're at the ocean and there's mist from crashing waves, or you've got your feet are barely in the water. That's a grounding effect, guys. Around waterfalls, they have similar anti-inflammatory effects. And this is huge, and I mean it's a huge thing. I think that it can help you to manage inflammation, and be a very beneficial thing that we need to do. And it may sound out there, but guess what? We're all dying of mysterious diseases because we're so smart we can't figure anything out. That's because we're tripping over the truth. We've become disconnected with what it means to actually interact with our environment as we're supposed to, as we're intended to. What was our true experience as human beings? I don't care about all your preconceived ideas of what is right and wrong with how we're supposed to live. We have disconnected. We became, germ theory. Let's kill all the germs. Let's wipe out everything. And guess what that's landed us with? The germs winning. Now we have antibiotic resistant bacteria, and they're growing. And guess what? Have you guys seen the study that was done? I can't remember what school it was done at. It was a research study where they took this huge, it looked like probably a huge, basically petri dish, guys, is what it was. So it's this material that they can put bacteria in to grow it. Same thing that's in a culture, right? A petri dish, they can put bacteria into it, and the medium, the gel-like substance that's in the dish encourages the growth of the bacteria. It gives it what it needs to grow. So they took this thing, and it was like the size of a twin-size bed, and they filled it with this medium to facilitate bacterial growth. And right in the center, what they did was they divided the medium, and they mixed antibiotics, and what they did was, so one entire side, so they divided this, just imagine a twin-size bed, and imagine that it's really a huge petri dish with a gel-like medium substance that allows bacteria to grow. And what the researchers did was, right in the middle, they divided it. And what they did was, let's say the right side, the right half, they divided into, I think, 5 additional strips that go across the width of the bed. And what they did was they put antibiotics in different concentrations. So the first row that was closest to the center, they put a low concentration antibiotic, and then they continued to put very, increasing dosage of antibiotics until the far end of the bed, the furthest end away from the center, had a really high concentration of antibiotics. You know what they did? They put bacteria all through the left side of this basically huge petri dish. So the left side, where there were no antibiotics, they inoculated it with bacteria. The bacteria, and they did time lapse. Blew my mind. It grew, the bacteria grew, and guess what? The bacteria hit the center, right where the antibiotics started. And it stops for a second, and then all of a sudden, boom, you start seeing growth in this first fifth. So remember, the right side of this dish had different varying degrees of antibiotics mixed in the medium So the idea is that it would be resistant to the bacteria and it should stop it. But guess what happened? The bacteria broke through the first wall, and you would see them grow. They became resistant to that low dose of antibiotics. And then they grew, and then they hit the second concentration, and there was a temporary stop. And then what happened? Boom, broke through, and it became resistant to the higher concentration. Then it hit the third wall, which was even a higher concentration of the antibiotic. And what happened? Resistance. It stopped, and then all of a sudden, boom, it broke through. And guess what? One wall was left with the highest dose, the highest concentration antibiotic we could use. And guess what? It hit it, and it held it, and it held it, and then what happened? Boom, it broke through. The bacteria always win. And the point here is that we think we're so smart that really we should have probably been trying to figure out how to what? Live in harmony with the bacteria and not fight and resist it. Guys, it's the same thing. You live in this modern environment. You think your electronics, your Wi-Fi, your electrification of your home with your magnetic fields, the paint, the chemicals on everything, the water lines that are made of different materials that are piping in a lot of you have, and most of you are going to have city treated water with the chemicals to purify it, and you're putting stuff on your skin and your hair, and you're buying food from commercially raised farms where they're manipulating the genes of the food. They're spraying it. Your cattle, your beef, your meat, your chickens, they're raised in ways that are completely disconnected from the human experience, and they're unnatural. And so don't think for a second that I'm off my rocker when I talk about this stuff, because I'll tell you what the truth is. The truth is that you need to step back and you need to consider, what are we doing to ourselves? And so I kind of digressed here talking about this grounding effect, because people want to say, or some people will argue with the fact, and I'm like, no, there's research published on it now. 5 years ago when it was first being popularized, people were poo-pooing it and wanted to say that it wasn't legit. I don't really care. My point is, and what I want to do is I want to get out information to help people change their perspective. I don't really care if you agree with it or not. And guess what? If it's wrong and it's proved wrong somehow in the future, that's fine. I'm willing to change my opinions on anything. So know that right now. I'm not married to a belief. I really want to know what's right and wrong, but I will tell you this: I do have an opinion on a lot of our disease and the fact that we're disconnected from reality of what it means to be truly interact with our environment in a way that is congruent with our biochemistry and with our biology. That's the reality of it. So it was really cool with the grounding. I think it's phenomenal. Number 5, nature is really powerful because, number 5, there was a study done with backpackers that found that after they were in nature for 4 days, that these people scored 50% better on creativity tests. So it's really good for improving your brain health, guys. It's a powerful thing. Number 6, it's also, think about this. Do you know that the air in your home is anywhere from, this is crazy, 2 to 100 times higher in pollutants in your home than it is outside? 2 to 100 times higher. Open your windows. Use HEPA filters. Do it. It's really powerful. But the thing is that you get outside and you get fresh air, guys. It's much better for you. Now, number 8. Actually, I think I jumped ahead. Number 7, improved mood. Okay, mood is incredible. There was a study done at Stanford, and what they did was they showed that people who walked for 90 minutes, 90 minutes in a natural environment, were much less likely to focus on the shortcomings in life and much more likely to focus on things that were positive and the possibilities. But when, and this was compared to people who walked 90 minutes on like a busy highway, it changed their perspective. And also, being in the sun, again, it boosts serotonin, which is a brain chemical that's responsible for making you feel happy and good. So it's really fantastic, guys. You sometimes, when we start looking, and even when I work with people, we focus so much on the chemical of the person that can be measured in the short term, and looking at food sensitivities and infections and environmental chemical reactions. And what ends up happening is that you sometimes miss the fact that your emotional your emotional chemistry also affects this. It's really, really important to keep that in mind. So improved mood and chemistry is huge. Number 8, improved mental focus. So what it does, it gives being outside gives you a break from like the everyday thing, disconnecting from electronics as much, and helps to restore and improve attention levels. So it's really, really important to consider. So you can see this is a lot of anti-inflammatory benefit, brain health, and improved chemistry, guys. I mean, it's huge. So what I say is get out there, move around, get in nature, and disconnect. Ground yourself, like literally take your shoes off, put your feet in wet grass so that you have a better transfer of electrons. Go to the beach, go walking, go by waterfalls, and just let the mist in the air help you to literally have an antioxidant effect on your body. So anyway, appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Today is a bit of a rant, a ramble, and a lot of different things, but I hope this better helps you to understand how nature is powerful medicine, guys. Powerful medicine. It's real. Don't discount it. Reconnect with what it means to really be human, guys. Get out there, get in the dirt, and get in your natural setting. So appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Talk to you again soon. Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed hanging out behind the scenes with Dr. Shook. You can also talk with and learn from Dr. Shook through Facebook Live on our Facebook page at the Office of Dr. Brad Shook. Don't forget, you can also get access to our videos, guidebooks, and thyroid programs at www.drbradshook.com. Oh yeah, and don't forget one more thing. We can change the world one person, one family, and one community at a time. Until next time, remember, today is your day, and no one will tell you who you are and what you can be.